Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal. The top stories this hour. Uneasy calm in Kano as deposed Emir Bayero returns from Calabar to begin preparations for Salah celebrations. And 3 escapees rearrested after 12 inmates escaped from Kogi Custodial Center. Also coming up, Mozambique's President Daniel Chapo and opposition leader Mondlane meet to discuss steps towards easing tensions in the country. Details coming up shortly. Now we begin the news in Kano, where Emir Bayero on Monday returned from Calabar to his Gidan Nasara Palace in Kano to begin preparations for Salah celebrations. The court-backed Emir Bayero, who is the Chancellor of the University of Calabar, returned to Kano after attending the university's convocation ceremony. News Central correspondent Emmanuel Bagudu reports that Emir Bayero has scheduled the 1st, 2nd and 3rd April for the traditional Salah Carnival, popularly called Hawan Durbar, an event to be organized by his rival, reinstated Emir Muhammad Sanusi II. And now to the North Central, in Kogi State, where 3 of the 12 inmates who escaped during a jailbreak at Katonkafe Correctional Center have been rearrested. The Acting Controller General, Nigeria Correctional Service, Sly Nwachuke, disclosed this during a press briefing on Monday at the Katonkafe Correctional Center. He regretted that one of the officers of the Correctional Service was killed by the escaped prison inmates. Nwachuke vowed that the remaining escapee will be apprehended. He called on the general public to provide security agencies with all the needed information that will lead to the arrest of all the prison inmates who escaped from prison. Earlier, we were joined by our correspondent Marshal Anthony Onanye, who visited the scene and gave us an update.
I did mention it earlier. Earlier on, there was a press release on 12 of the inmates escaping and just 1 being recaptured. But when we spoke with the Controller General, S.N. Nwachuke, he did say that it was actually 3 that were recaptured out of the 12 that escaped, and 9 are still on the loose. And he said efforts are being put in place to ensure that they close it on them.
Right. And what is the situation in Kogi State right now? Because, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people will be frantic. We don't know where these inmates are. We don't know how to keep tabs on them. Are people going about their normal activities, or has this caused a stir and a scare in the state?
Well, it's still a breaking news for so many people in the town, but in Katonkafe, where the prison is situated, on our way in here, you could feel the tension, within the community. People we met along the way were apprehensive because it's the immediate environment of the prison, and they have already heard the news. But in the major metropolis of Kogi, you'll find people going about their normal business. The news is still fresh, and it is not yet proliferated as would be expected. But within the locale where the prison is situated, few people were met. You could see that even to us, they were apprehensive.
Now to politics. Negotiations for a new political coalition aimed at challenging the ruling All Progressives Congress in the 2027 elections are nearing completion. This was confirmed by Saliu Lukman, a former APC vice chairman in the Northwest, who revealed in a statement on Monday that consultations are in an advanced stage, but no final decisions have been made. Lukman's comments follow last week's remarks by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who, during a press conference on the state of emergency in Rivers State, announced plans to form a coalition of opposition parties to unseat the APC in the next election. Lukman assured that once the discussions are concluded, a formal announcement will be made outlining membership composition, programs of actions, and the framework for contesting the 2027 elections. And joining us from Abuja is Peter Amem, Secretary of the Coalition of United Political Parties and a member of the opposition. Mr. Amem, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, that's very good. Now, everything we've seen in the past 1 week is something many probably saw coming. What exactly is the opposition coalition about? Mr. Amem, I think your device might be muted. You might want to check that button.
Okay, I've done that.
Good.
So this is a coalition about personality at the moment. You know, there are different kind of coalition. You have alliance, you have coalition of political parties, you have merger, you have all these other categories of the kind of cooperation that can happen within the ranks of the opposition to be able to put them in a strong pool to defeat the ruling government. But what is happening at the moment is a coalition of personality. Even the one that the APC did, people always say, oh, why not do it like the APC? Because APC did their own in their own way. Does not make the same, you know, other people must follow the same process. The challenge that the APC even had is because they had people like Rochas Okorocha, who was coming from Abga. He was not coming he did not come into that coalition with his political party. Because Abga disagreed with the formation of the coalition, of the merger of the APC. So he came as a personality, as a sitting governor, or as at then. So, but in this current situation, there are a lot of, you have opposition leaders that are coming to agree that we need to put our forces together and put ourselves together in order to be able to have upper hand against the APC. But what other people have said is that there are other means by which this government can also be defeated. Because as we speak today, the hunger on the street is even more of a bigger opposition to the APC than what we have. But I know that what the opposition leaders are doing and what we collectively are interested in is how to be able to have a coalition that works with the interests of the people, that works in delivering the objective of the Constitution in providing a secure and harmonious living space for every citizen of this country. It is not a coalition. A lot of people will not be part of it. Peter B. have said it, that he won't be part of a coalition that is just meant for power grab. I also believe that should be the same. It shouldn't be about grabbing power and not knowing what to do with it. This coalition must be truly, must have the kind of establishment and the kind of intentions that it only has to do with the betterment of the Nigerian people.
So, Mr. Ame, how confident are you moving into 2027 with the big names, the big money, and also the SDP as a vehicle? What's your confidence level like?
There's nobody that has chosen the SDP as a vehicle. But if that is if that is a speculation by the party, is out of it. SDP will be part of the coalition members if they come on the table. But there's nobody who have chosen that. And even the Lookman who just spoke, if you know his reaction to that of when El-Rufai joined the SDP, he said it was a hasty decision. That it was a hasty decision that was not collectively taken. So I believe in the times to come, very short, within the shortest possible time, the coalition members and those who are interested in trying to make sure we form a formidable ground that is not, that is not dependent on certain factors that will, negate the principles of liberal democracy. Then we may be able to sit down and then define which direction, which party will be the one that will bear the umbrella of the coalition. But as it speaks, I'm very confident by 2027. You can see this government, the problem we have in Nigeria, we don't have data for rating of government that will be very accurate. But if you look at voice populi, the kind of voice, if you go to the street and speak to every ordinary man on the street, even the 30 days run challenge that is going on, you know that this government is the most unpopular government in the history of our fourth republic. It's very unpopular because of the impromptu policy decisions that have, put our people in poverty, and yet the government is not taking steps to correct that. So I think the position is more in a very big, in an advantageous position to be able to take government come 2027, because the greatest challenge to this government is the hunger on the street. The greatest challenge to this government is inability to be able to secure farmers in their farm. The greatest challenge to this government is inability to be able to secure Nigerians traveling on the roads. The greatest challenge to this government is inability to secure people in their community from paying taxes to bandits. So I think we are in a very good position to take over this government.
So
2027.
I'm going to ask definitively, how can any opposition or coalition actually upstage this government? If you say vox populi, then let's take note of what the argument is regarding the state of emergency in Rivers State. Is that enough to upstage this current government in 2027?
You look at the condemnation that is coming from all walks of life. The interest that played out in Rivers State is the interest of the president. It's not the interest and the fear that whatever will happen in Rivers State, they want to take control of it. What has happened in Rivers State has even put the president in a more disadvantageous position when it comes to allowing people coming to vote for his interest, because you cannot upstage any authority, elected authority within a particular, we run a federating unit. And in a federating unit, you have federating, we have a federal democracy, and you have a federating unit. Each of these states are federal unit of a federation. You cannot just, an elected governor, you use your own authority because you have in position, you use the apparatus of state to remove them from office. How do you expect people in that state to feel? So I think that, and when you win elections in Nigeria, you cannot take away Kano, take away Rivers, and take away Lagos. And for now, I believe opposition are in control of this state, and it will be easier to be able to use whatever undemocratic means that the president has applied, in removing elected officials in Rivers State as a yardstick to develop more robust opposition within the state and make sure that the electorate in that state see the reason why they must be able to go for Democrats and people who believe in the principle of separation, who believe in the principle of having independence of the state from the national and devolving more power to the state. And in this regard, it is easier to say that when the election comes, that the opposition will defeat the ruling government in 2027.
So I'm assuming that you're saying this coalition is a refreshing look at politics in Nigeria. But how can an Atiku-led coalition comprising of El Rufai and many other known names already in politics currently present itself as a breath of fresh air?
There are a lot of breath. I know you avoided not calling Peter Obi. You've not called a lot of other people. Paso is in the opposition. Peter is in the opposition. So all these other people that are in the opposition, they're also breath of fresh air. And you know that for a lot of us, I am among those who is canvassing that whatever the opposition will do, they must make sure that the South complete their tenure. Yes, we have an unwritten agreement about how to manage the affairs of this country that has not been properly established. But for now, the power is in the South, and the opposition, for us to defeat President Tinubu, we must be able to do what we need to do that is necessary to be able to create a consensus that will carry the other part of this country along, so that they will know that we are people who are built on fairness, on equity, and equality. So in this regard, there are more young people, there are fresh people within the coalition that will be able to lead the coalition, but you cannot do without the old guards in this game. You can't do without those who have participated a long time. There are people who have been in this game that will also be part of the strength of the opposition that we are going to pull. Atiku was part of the APC. Zerifai was part of the APC. APC rejoiced when they supported them to victory. So any assistance that can be brought to bear on the strength of the coalition to be able to do what is necessary to save our country from imminent collapse, it is a welcome development, and we will do it jointly to be able to save our country from this level of lack of service to the people.
Mr. Peter Ahmed, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Now we're going on a break. When the news returns, we'll tell you that INEC, has received a petition seeking the sack of Kogi Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. All this when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the federal government has been accused of attempting to smear the reputation of the suspended governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara. The Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, who made the observation, condemned what it described as unsubstantiated and reckless allegations by key federal officials linking the suspended governor to militant activities in the Niger Delta. The rights group, in a statement issued in Abuja on Monday, faulted recent claims made by the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, and Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, alleging that Governor Fubara had ties to militant groups responsible for attacks on oil infrastructure. Hariwa criticized the federal government, or rather federal officials' reliance on intelligence without presenting verifiable proof to back the claims. The group called on security agencies to conduct forensic investigations into the allegations, insisting that leave no room for doubt as to the actual culprits. In the meantime, suspended Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has denied any links to militant groups and warned against attempts to incite violence or economic sabotage in his name. In a statement released on Monday by his chief press secretary, Nelson Chukwudi, Fubara has dismissed viral videos alleging explosions at oil and gas installations in Rivers State, calling them fake and malicious. He urged security agencies to investigate the sources of the videos and take action against those responsible. Fubara reiterated that he has no affiliation with militants and remains committed to maintaining peace in the state. He also warned those spreading falsehoods online, stressing that governance and development can only thrive in a stable environment and urging security forces to hold perpetrators accountable. And still in Rivers State. The Independent National Electoral Commission has received the petition seeking the recall process of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan as Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Secretary to the Commission, Rose Oriera Anthony, received the petition on Monday. The Federal High Court, sitting in Lokoja, Kogi State capital, on Friday, had set aside an earlier ruling that restrains the INEC from receiving the recall process initiated by constituents of Kogi Central Senatorial District against Natasha. The court, in a landmark judgment delivered in Lokoja, affirmed that the recall process is constitutionally valid and aligns with the civic rights of the constituents. The court urged the constituents to continue exercising their rights in an orderly and peaceful manner. News Central's news crew in Kogi State met up with some constituents and brings us what they had to say.
The President of the Nigerian Senate.
The Nigerian state is once again being taken to the international scene for the wrong reasons, among which the case between Senator Natasha Akpoti and the Senate President, is featuring prominently. And for us, and of course, progressive elements across the social space of Nigeria are not quite happy with this. Of course, I'm happy you're a pressed man and you're on ground. You've seen things for yourself. And it is quite clear that the Federal High Court, seated in Lokoja, issued a restraining order to INEC, preventing it from receiving petition. It was very clear. I think this was on Thursday. And only for us, that same Thursday or a few hours after, we started seeing across the social media space a purported order of vacation. The idea that a recall is taking place is meant to deceive uninformed members of the public. Who is recalling who? Who are these faceless elements? They are makeshift organizations who are not bold enough. Yes, we understand that in every 12, the Judas is always there. Some persons are trying to do something funny. The report is everywhere that some persons have gone to collect billions of naira from either some elements outside the state. And they are here today trying to force people, harass people, intimidate people. Forget that democracy in itself is a government that is built on majoritarian rule, where majority rules and the minority at most have their say. What are we saying here? We aren't stopping anybody from testing the popularity of our senator. What we're simply saying is this. Of course, there will always be people who will tell you no. But these persons are in the far minority. They constitute less than 5% as far as Kogi Central Senatorial District today is concerned. Okay, so
the Osun State government has denied allegations of service disruptions in local governments, insisting that health, education and administrative services have remained uninterrupted. In a statement on Monday, Governor Ademola Adeleke's spokesperson Olawale Rasheed dismissed the opposition's claims as falsehoods. He also emphasized that schools and health centers are fully operational, with local patronage at an all-time high. Meanwhile, Governor Adeleke personally visited health centers and witnessed successful childbirths in Telemu and Ido Osun. The government has also highlighted its achievements in digitizing administrative services, enabling thousands to access state of origin and local government identification online since 2023. The statement urged the public to disregard information, reaffirming Adeleke's commitment to good governance and the continuous delivery of democratic dividends in Osun State. Now joining us live in the studio here is Ayo Ologun, public affairs commentator who follows events in Osun State very closely. You're welcome, Ayo. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So the authorities have said that there's no breakdown in whether it's education or health services. What have you found out?
Well, I think that statement is premeditated or hinged on a report that was heard on a national platform sometimes on Friday, which the state government has denied, that the reality is not in tandem with what was reported on that television station. And that has generated a lot of heat and a lot of big bats from the political class. One thing is certain, the local government in Osun State has been in a sort of comatose for running to about 2 months now, because members of the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees has withdrawn their services, and they were being backed by the NLC, that's the state branch of that association. But notwithstanding the fact that this group of people have not been working at the local government, essential services with evidences have been running. Just like you read, there have been confirmation of the fact that people go to the health centers to take drug from the pharmacies, the child bath is being given and all that. I think another thing that gave credence was a report that also was in circulation that maybe a lot of people have been denied the privilege that is entitled to them as indigenous of Osun, particularly young ones who wants to go and who just gain admission to the university and have been denied the opportunity to obtain what is called the state of origin document and all of that, which the state government has reported that, look, even before the inception of this administration, such has been digitalized. People can access it online. You can apply for that online and get it. I think those issues are undisputable, especially when they have come with facts. But that does not take away the fact that we cannot continue to put at bay the importance of the functionality of the local government. In Osun State, local government has been non-functional except for key and essential services like health and education. But that does not take away the fact that a lot of lives have been affected by the inefficiency of local government administration at that level. And I will call on the political class, irrespective of whatever divide, APC, PDP, whatever political parties anyone belongs to, that what is important is the sanctity of the system. There is a need for whatever is happening in that state to be resolved so that local government employees can return to work and people can have access to local government, which is the closest government to the people at the grassroots.
So apart from local government governance now, there's also the issue of communal clashes. We saw what happened from Friday last week into the weekend. I think as at Friday, there were about 3 people killed and even more since after. What do you think about these clashes? Do you think that they're organic clashes like over land disputes, or are they being politically motivated?
Well, those who have tried to pretend that what is happening in Osun State in the last few days is political are just insincere and insensitive to the lives and the plight of the people of that area. That crisis, as much as I know, predated even myself. I was born and bred in Osogbo. That the clash between that can be likened to the clash that we used to witness between Modaike and Ife, if you recall what it used to be. That clashes or that incidents is over 40 years old. I could recall right from the days of Oyinlola as governor, on to Aregbesola, on to Oyinlola, Abiyo Itola, and even this present administration. Successive administration have had to battle with attempts to resolve. So it's purely a land dispute thing. And it's only when people are trying to be mischievous that they bring politics into it. I think what makes this one different is that in the history of that land dispute between those 3 communities, and that's Ifon Osun, Ilobu, and Eri Osun, this is the largest in scale when it comes to issues of life destroyed, properties destroyed. It has never been this bad. And perhaps maybe it could be said that maybe the state government failed to take necessary actions at some point in time, which could have forestalled this incident. But for anybody to pretend that this is political will be insensitive to the Plateau. This is purely non-political. It is an issue of non-dispute, which I believe is better resolved once and for all, so that we'll not have an occurrence. Like I said, every administration, the last 4 administrations have had to deal with this incident. And if it's not eventually named in the board, I hope that the next administration will not have a resurgence of it again.
Well, we'll see this happening at exactly the same time when the governor and opponents, the Minister of Blue Economy, are at daggers drawn. So you're saying there's no correlation?
There's no correlation. After the time the crisis broke out, it has nothing to do with politics. But you know politicians and the fifth columnists, when things happen, they try to give it undue coloration. When that crisis broke out last Friday, it was purely a communal thing. Don't forget that the former Deputy Speaker of the House of Rep, Lasso, is from one of the towns. The incumbent Commissioner for Information is also from one of the towns in that community. So as at the time the crisis broke out, it was purely a communal thing. But as time goes by, or as time went by, people started giving it political coloration. Oh, because the Commissioner of Information is from one of the town, his utterances are not what you should expect of somebody of his class, or maybe he should not be speaking for government on that matter, since he's also culpable because he's from one of those cities. People started giving it all kind of coloration because of existing crisis politically that existed between the APC and the PDP. But I do say this. We cannot continue to politicize everything, especially when it comes to lives and properties. We should find a lasting solution to the communal clashes that has become a recurring decimal in those two local governments of the state. And we must not try to colorate it, because I've seen people coming out to say, irresponsibly so, to say, oh, because of the communal clashes in those three communities, state of emergency should be declared. That is, for me, irresponsible and politics taking too far.
Okay.
We should know that what is important is to prioritize the life of the people and the properties there, and not just trying to give it political coloration as it should not be.
Well, Ayo Olugun, I want to say thank you very much for joining us this evening for the news.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Do stay tuned. We're going on a very short break now, and when we come back, we talk about World War Today in Plateau. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Now we're going on a break. When the news returns, we'll tell you that INEC, has received a petition seeking the sack of Kogi Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. All this when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the government of Plateau State has signed off the Clean Plateau, Use the Toilet campaign. This exercise, according to the government, is one of the major ways of protecting water sources for water safety in the state. This development, in collaboration with UNICEF, comes as state actors on the Plateau gathered to mark the 2025 World Water Day. News Central's Chizoba Anyonwe was there and now completes this report.
The 2025 World Water Day began with a roadwalk by stakeholders across major streets in Jos. It was followed by the signing of the Clean Plateau, Use the Toilet campaign by all directors of the Ministry of Water and Energy in all the 17 local government areas in the state. It serves as a commitment plan to end open defecation in Plateau State by the year 2030. These children were also drawn from each of the 17 local government areas in Plateau State to join their voice in this all-important sensitization program. Governor Caleb Motfuang says nothing will stop this move to ensure clean and safe water in the state.
As a government, we are vowed to change the narrative by intensifying our efforts towards creating an enabling environment to provide clean water and sanitation facilities to all our citizens, as earlier outlined by the Honorable Commissioner of Water Resources and Energy.
These stakeholders on the plateau say they are more determined in ensuring this sad record is eliminated even sooner than later.
There is nothing that they will bring to the House of Assembly in terms of policies, in terms of reforms, in terms of laws that we will pass in the House of Assembly. We do our own part as legislators and make sure we meet up to our own part of the bargain. As a people, it is crucial that we collaborate and work together at all levels of government, from the states, local government areas, and down to our communities to maintain a clean, healthy environment for all.
I congratulate Plateau State to be one of the committed states to the cause of having open defecation free. And I wish and I pray that in 2030, inshallah, Plateau State should be standing here and congratulating each other for achieving this open defecation free state.
I urge all stakeholders, government agencies, traditional and religious leaders, development partners, the private sector, and every citizen to take ownership of this campaign.
With all these demonstrations here, the question on the lips of many is, how soon will offenders of open defecation begin to face the law, as this may be the only way to ensure they conform to legislation. In Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyowi.
Now, the need to preserve family history through proper documentation away from oral tradition has once again come to the front burner. This was the launch of the memory journal titled Dear Daddy, Dear Mummy, Let's Preserve Your Memories, published by Inked Memory. Correspondent Israel Eferobo was there for News Central.
The event, a gathering of industry leaders, close friends, colleagues, mentors and partners of Otto Orandam, the convener, was filled with conversations on the preservation of the history of the family. Chair of the occasion, former Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, Amina Ogie, told the gathering what she feels about the initiative.
This is a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful thing, and we're hoping that when we launch it, that we go back and go back to because if we build a strong home, if we have that strength from home, if we are whole and full at home, when we go out, we carry it with us. What we carry is what we touch with others. If you don't have it, you can't give it.
Otto Orandam, the publisher of the book, Dear Daddy, Dear Mommy, Let's Preserve Your Memories, said the idea of the book came from a place of pain.
It's a very personal experience. It comes from a place of pain, which I would say has been converted to power, because I lost my dad last year. And losing him was a very traumatizing experience. He's one who told us so many beautiful stories. He had so much history. He was 83, actually almost 84. And we told him, Dad, don't just tell us the stories, write them.
Other dignitaries also shared the impression of the initiative and the need to document stories that will help sons and daughters connect the past, shape the present, and help with a better understanding of the future.
Today's event has been mind-blowing, to be honest, because the import of what Otto has established today will reverberate through several generations and will change the mindset of a lot of people. It will impact the measure of our recorded history. I think it's incredible. It's beautiful.
The conversations were honest, genuine, and authentic on the importance of keeping the family legacy alive through storytelling.
It has been phenomenal. It's life-changing, and I don't mean that just because I know Otto. I think it's very important that we document our history and that we actually lean on our parents to be able to understand what they've gone through, what our lineage is, and what our legacy will be. So this event has just been amazing. It just reminded me of how important it is to document history.
Flagship journals for mothers and fathers would help our parents, old, young, document their stories. It has 360 questions across 10 chapters, one that would help you dig deeper into your family's history. And I encourage everyone to get a copy.
At the end of the night, the impact of life flowing through generations was reborn with the launch of the Memory Journal. In Lagos, for News Central, Israel Eferobo.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has lent his voice to the call for the immortalization of late Professor Humphrey Nwosu, who served as Nigeria's electoral chief from 1989 to 1993. Speaking at a tribute held at INEC headquarters in Abuja on Monday, Yakubu praised Nwosu's role in shaping Nigeria's electoral process, particularly his introduction of the option A4 voting system and the open ballot system. Yakubu described the 1993 presidential election conducted under Nwosu's leadership as one of the freest and fairest in the country's history, despite its annulment. This comes as groups under the umbrella body of Coalition for the Immortalization of Professor Humphrey Nwosu called for a state burial of one of the forerunners of the nation's electoral structure. The group argued that it was an oversight that Professor Nwosu was not honored in his lifetime. They, however, said it is not too late to honor him posthumously. Coming up, hundreds of opposition supporters gathered in Togo's capital, Lomé, to to protest the newly adopted constitution. We'll tell you this and more after the break. Join us then. Now we're going to break. When the news returns, we'll tell you that INEC, has received a petition seeking the sack of Kogi Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. All this when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Now, Lagos State government has reaffirmed its commitment to eradicating tuberculosis in the state and the entire country, urging all stakeholders to intensify efforts in tackling the preventable and curable disease. This was made known at the commemoration of World Tuberculosis Day 2025, held at the stakeholders' engagement by the Lagos State Ministry of Health in collaboration with the Office of the First Lady, TB Steering Committee. Lagos News Central Ololade tells us more in this report.
According to the World Health Organization, tuberculosis still claims at least one Nigerian life every 5 minutes, despite being entirely curable. In spite of the country's progress in TB control, the disease remains a leading cause of death, hence an awareness work and stakeholders' engagement by the Lagos State Government and the State Ministry of Health to sensitize people about the symptoms of TB and the importance of seeking medical care early.
We need to take action. Yes, we've had partners and sponsors, different private sectors out there. They've done a lot of work, but then we need to do more and be a bit more aggressive to ensure that come 2030, by the grace of God, we do not have tuberculosis in Nigeria.
We're doing a lot, but we need to do more, and it's a collective efforts and collaboration with other people that can bring it to Nigeria where we can say, wow, no more TB in Nigeria, and especially in Lagos to start off with, and we're all in Lagos now. We are improving access to care, and we're accelerating research and development. And so as we commemorate World TB Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to ending TB.
However, with an estimated 500,000 new cases annually, the country is still working to bridge the gap in identifying and treating every infected person. The theme for this year's commemoration, Yes, We Can End TB, Commit, Invest and Deliver, underscores the need for government and stakeholders to continue the push for universal health coverage, ensuring that every Lagosian is screened, diagnosed and treated at no cost.
How close the number that you screen and detect is close is to the number that come out at the end treated and cleared. And if we cannot get those two numbers closer to each other, then we are not doing the best we can. The other thing is that we need to improve on the screening as well.
What we want is to be able to identify all the people with tuberculosis and access them to care. But also, prevention is better than cure. If we can create enough awareness, we'll be able to prevent it so that it doesn't even happen in the first place. And then, if there is, we're able to access care with them.
With more awareness, community engagement and enhanced healthcare interventions, experts believe Nigeria is on the path to making tuberculosis a disease of the past. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
Mozambique's President Daniel Chapo and opposition leader Venancio Mondlane have taken a crucial step towards easing tensions in the country. The two met in the capital Maputo to discuss solutions to the challenges facing the nation, which has been gripped by political turmoil since October's disputed elections. The meeting is part of ongoing efforts to promote national stability and reinforce the commitment to reconciliation. This development comes after months of violent clashes between protesters and security forces, resulting in over 360 deaths. Chapo's gesture is significant, especially since Mondlane claims he won the election with 53% of the votes, contrary to official results. Hundreds of opposition supporters gathered in Togo's capital, Lomé, to protest the newly adopted constitution. Passed in April 2024, the new constitution replaces direct presidential elections with a parliamentary system, making the president's role largely symbolic. Critics argue this move paves the way for President Farouk Nassibeh to remain in power indefinitely. Under the previous constitution, Nassibeh was restricted to one final presidential term with an election scheduled for later this year. However, the controversial changes have sparked fears that the president could extend his rule beyond the current limits. The rally in Lomé reflects growing concerns over the potential for prolonged authoritarian leadership. And now, sports. The NFF has announced that the first 500 fans to purchase tickets for Nigeria's 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier against Zimbabwe at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium in Uyo will receive a Super Eagles home jersey. General Secretary Dr. Mohamed Sanusi urged Nigerians to fill the stadium, emphasizing the importance of strong home support. The tickets will be available on match day, with VIP seats priced at 3,000 naira and regular seats at 1,000 naira. The NFF hopes for massive turnout as the Super Eagles push for World Cup qualification. And that's all this hour. But before we go, let's take a look at some of the major stories. Uneasy calm in Kano as deposed Emir Bayero returns from Calabar to begin preparations for Salah celebrations. Also, 3 escapees rearrested after 12 inmates escaped from Kogi Custodial Center. We also told you that Mozambique's President Daniel Chapo and opposition leader Mondlane meet to discuss steps towards easing tensions in the country. Remember, you may send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screen. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.